Hey guys, welcome to part 2. We spoke in part 1 about body mass index and body fat percentage and how and what you should be looking at. So a brief recap is you should be going up from your peak race weight between 8 and 12 pounds per year. That's between 3.5 and 4.5 kilos each year that you're going above that after your peak race. Having that fat on your body is very important because it helps maintain hormone levels, it supports your immune system, it allows you to recover the soft tissue damage, and it supports your training. So keep that in mind. And there are fat-soluble vitamins that need that fat in order to be stored in the body to help you maintain a healthy body. And that is the goal of everything we're doing. You should be fit, fast, and healthy. Now, the second thing we spoke about in the last video is the grams of protein per day that you should get, because we don't want to lose muscle mass as we're losing weight. We want to burn off those calorie stores of 3,500 calories per pound of body fat that we have. So we really want to make sure that we're slowly decreasing the amount of fat by working with a registered and licensed dietitian to give us a caloric deficit that's appropriate, as well as getting enough grams of protein per day to support the lean muscle mass that we have. Now, we spoke about grams of protein per day isn't based off of your body weight. It is based off of the total calories you're bringing in each day. So the methods that I'm familiar with and like very much is if you're on a 1,500 calorie a day diet, you're looking at about 110, 115 grams per day that you're going to be eating as a percentage of those calories. For someone eating 3,500 calories a day, you're going to be 250 grams of protein plus. And the reason this is important is because out of those calories, a certain amount need to be the proteins to help support the immune system, the muscle repair, and the muscle that you have. Again, we spoke about muscle loss each year should not exceed 3 to 6 pounds per year. This is so important. I like to stay at the lower end of that range, 3 to 4, maybe 5. If we have an athlete who is a bodybuilder or a powerlifter or a football player looking to get into endurance sports, we'll go 5, and we may get 6, but we don't aim for that. The reason for that is that loss in muscle mass throughout the year can actually cause decrease in training quality, and that's something we don't want, especially here at Human Vortex Training. I talk all the time about train smarter, not harder, and it being all about you. And that's what this is about. We want to make sure that you understand, and I'm going to give you right now from my American College of Sports Medicine training as an exercise physiologist, I'm going to give you the equations to help you figure out how many calories per day you require to go through your training, to go through your sleeping, and to go through your regular workday. A lot of you out there, and I've had athlete after athlete come to me, and they say, oh, I'm eating less than my basal metabolic rate each day, but I'm getting sick, I'm not losing weight, I'm gaining weight, my sleep patterns are awful, I'm a crabby person, my wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband hate me because I'm so crabby all the time, please help me, how can I do it? My training is decreased in productivity and quality, help me, what am I doing wrong? And the thing is, they're not using the proper basal metabolic rate equation to help them succeed. They're taking your basal metabolic rate as it's written is if you lay in bed and do nothing all day. How many calories do you need to support your body for that period? You can't take your basal metabolic rate and apply it to going out and training, doing your job, unless you sit at home and you're on a computer all day or you're sitting at a desk. Even then, your basal metabolic rate is going to be so specific that you're getting up, you're moving to the car, you're moving back to the apartment, you're doing all of these things. And it is so vital that you guys understand that. And that's what I'm going to give you right now. There's actually 4 parts to this. So I'm going to put up a slide here for PowerPoint so that you can actually see the equations because they are quite complex. Now, the first thing that we want to do is we want to calculate that BMR number, the actual BMR. So these equations are freely available on the interwebs. You can look them up. I'm going to give them to you right here for the English BMR. Those of you on the metric system outside of the US, there is a separate equation, or you can do the conversion of inches to centimeters, etc. But for women, the BMR is going to equal 655 plus, very important here, parenthesis, 4.35 times your weight in pounds. close parentheses. You need a scientific calculator or turn your iPhone sideways for this. Then you're going to add parentheses 4.7 times your height in inches, close parentheses, minus parentheses 4.7 times your age in years, close parentheses. That is the women's equation. For men, your BMR is going to equal 66 plus parentheses 6.23 times your weight in pounds, close parentheses, plus parentheses 12.7 times your inch in height, close parentheses, minus parentheses 6.8 times your age in years, close parentheses. This is your basal metabolic rate. We are going to figure out how many calories per hour you burn sleeping. We're not going to use this equation for the whole day. We'll get into trouble. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this number that you have now, you're going to divide that number by 24. So the number you just had, you just found out using this English BMR equation, you are going to divide by 24. So 24 hours in a day. Now, I want you to multiply that by the number of hours on average that you sleep. So let's say you work on an ambulance, as I did for a while, and you sleep 6 hours a night when you're on shift, average, and you sleep 9 hours a night when you're off. So I worked 3 days a week at 6 hours, 9 hours, 4 days a week, so I would add that together, divide by 7. Make sure you're paying attention to this. If you have a set bedtime, it's easy. So you wake up at the same time, you go to bed, let's say 8 hours. So you're going to take that number, multiply it by the number of hours that you have. So we have your BMR number divided by 24 times the number of hours you sleep on average. Write that number down and make sure you keep that BMR number written down. We need that again. Now, circle that number for the total calories burned as you sleep. Now, we're going to go on to your activity level, and this is very important. If you have a non-physical job and not really an active lifestyle, which hopefully does not apply to you guys, you're going to take your BMR number and multiply it by 1.15. Okay, so non-active lifestyle, non-active job. Now, as I hope most of you have a non-physical job and an active lifestyle, and that's where your training is. You're going to multiply this number by 1.2. Okay, so the BMR number times 1.2 for a non-physical job and an active lifestyle, which is where most of you will be. Now, if you have a physical job, like a coach or a trainer, then you're going to multiply your BMR number by 1.3. Okay, so physical job where you're up and moving all day, maybe you're a barista, maybe you're loading trucks all day, you have a physical job and an active lifestyle, take your BMR and multiply it by 1.3. Okay, so now we have your BMR times the appropriate amount for your active lifestyle. And you're going to divide by 24. So you have your BMR times the number, either 1.15 for a non-physical job, non-active lifestyle, which I hope none of you are in. Then we have a non-physical job and an active lifestyle, which is where most of you will be. You're going to multiply your BMR by 1.2. And for those who have a physical job and an active lifestyle, you're going to multiply that number by 1.3. Okay, so now, before we do the math here, you're going to divide, after you multiply your BMR by that number, either 1.15, 1.2, or 1.3, you're going to divide, after you do that, you're going to divide by 24. So this is the basal metabolic rate per hour, not exercising, not sleeping. Okay, so we have that number. Now, you're going to take the number 24 hours in a day, 24 minus the hours that you sleep per day, minus the hours that you train. Okay, so we have that. So usually most people, they sleep 7 hours, they train for 2 hours, so 24 minus 9 is 13. So just as an example, you're going to take that number and you're going to multiply your basal metabolic rate for your active lifestyle by the numbers left in the day that you are not sleeping and you are not training. All right, circle that number. we want to do is we want to calculate the calories burned on average for each exercise session. If you have a power meter, this is not a problem because the number of kilojoules that you're burning per ride, per training ride, is going to give you a pretty good number of what you're actually burning on the bike. Now that's really important to know because the power meters are going to be very specific. Heart rate monitors vary. So if you have a Sunto, it's going to be X range. If you have a Garmin, it's going to be a different range. If you have Polar, so make sure you're looking online. Slowtwitch.com has some great information and feedback about that. But please make sure you're going and you're finding out the percentage range, and go on the lower, the bigger mistake range. So if it says 5 to 8%, go with 8%. Higher than what the number is. Always go a little bit higher than lower. Now, once we calculate how many calories you burn in an average exercise session, we're going to take how many sessions per week that you actually do, and we're going to divide it by 7. So we have an average per day of what you're roughly going to burn on a ride. With my more advanced athletes, there's a different approach, but I want this for you guys. Okay, we're going to add up the basal metabolic rate number that you were sleeping, for the number of calories you burned while sleeping, plus the average calories you burn for a workout session, plus the average calories you burn at not training and not sleeping. Okay, so this is the number we're going to use. That is how many calories you need to eat each day to maintain your muscle mass and body mass right now. You can work with a licensed dietitian, a registered dietitian, in order to figure out how much of a caloric deficit you should take in order to get to that body mass index and body fat percentage for your peak race. So I know this video is a little bit long. You'll see it will have an absolutely positive impact on your training, on your recovery. I do want to mention you should never, ever, ever be eating fewer than 1,500 calories unless directed by a registered dietitian, licensed dietitian, or a physician. So please keep that in mind. So for some of you who are smaller and that number is coming really low, you need to make sure to talk to a registered dietitian. So that's all for this video, the calculating a true BMR number and how to lean out to be faster and stronger on the bike. Remember, train smarter, not harder, and it's all about you.